Art style challenges. We've all seen them, we all love them. At least if you clicked on this video, I assume you do. I never thought about this challenge as something I would make a video on, I just wasn't interested in that. Plus it sounded scary. But that was before I realized I could mix the art style stuff with character design, which is something I actually enjoy doing. And this is how this video was born. Not only would I try to recreate the art style, now without further ado, let's get into it. Now before we get into any of the fun stuff, one, I have to show my original art style, and two, we have to decide on some rules. The rules being that I have to keep my Sona's eyes covered and translating the same themes that I use to Creator onto any of the art styles I try to replicate. Those being the monochromatic color palette and Hawaii Part 2. There's just no explaining this one. Other than that, I should try to keep the same silhouette, of course, but anything else can be changed. Also, can you tell I never really made a character sheet for her and I'm just using this challenge as an excuse to do so? Two birds with one stone, what can I say? First up is Cookie Run Kingdom, a game I'm technically new to. I have this thing with media that I like, and Cookie Run Kingdom fell victim to it, where my first contact with the game, I started playing Cookie Run Kingdom, technically like years ago, but I didn't get too interested in it, so I uninstalled it from my phone. So now I gave it a chance again, and I love it. So I stay in the middle line, where I'm not technically a new player, but I am a new player. There's a whole thing in Cookie Run Kingdom where it recognizes you're a returning player and gives you basically a whole event for relearning the mechanics and getting you back on track, which is really useful and I really hope more games add that. But enough about that, let's talk about the design. Lucky for me, the game has a really wide variety of character designs and allows for non-human skin tones. Because they're not human, you know, they're cookies. But anyways, what I mean by that is that I had to change basically nothing about the design itself. The skirt was a choice of mine to keep the silhouette interesting. I mainly used as reference espresso cookie for the vibes, black pearl cookie to have an idea of what a more monochromatic cookie would look like, and cherry cookie for the more simple looking eyes. And as you noticed by now, even if you don't play the game, everyone is named after a cookie flavor, under very heavy quotation marks. Because what does a wizard cookie even taste like? But what I mean by saying all of that is that I want a cookie name for myself. And monochromatic food is not that easy to come by, I don't think. My first idea was Oreo cookie, but Oreo is a brand, so I don't know if that would count. So I looked at the name of the kind of cookie that Oreo is, and the real name is Chocolate Sandwich Cookie, so I'm sealing that. With the art finished and with the name settled, we're done here. I don't think I ever used the word cookie as much as I did in just this section of this video. Genshin Impact is next, with character designs that are way more detailed than what I usually do. I don't really play Genshin Impact anymore, but I used to be obsessed with it during the pandemics, so I assumed it should have a place in here. My art style already has some anime-ish proportions, so it wasn't that difficult to adapt that aspect of the art style. While there are some playable characters that cover one of their eyes, I couldn't find an actual reference for having both the eyes covered, unless it was an NPC or just one of the villains. So I just did the reasonable thing and gave my Sona a Fatsui mask and a Sesnaya vision. Speaking of visions, I want to talk about the colors. I know we're not at the colors part of the speed thing yet, but I want to talk about the colors. Each vision, at least the way I see it, comes with kind of a predefined color palette. And while it's not a set rule for a character who owns a certain type of vision to look like they own that kind of vision, my objective is to make the character look like they belong, so I feel like it would make more sense if I just follow that rule anyway. I knew from the get-go that I would want to be Electro. It is my favorite element and I think it'll always be. So I switched my monochromatic palette from black and white to just different tones of purple. It still fits in the definition of monochromatic, mind you. so I am not counting that as breaking one of the rules. I mainly use this reference Furina for obvious reasons, Kuching for the cat ears, and lastly Dainsla for a bigger visual library on formal clothes, as well as the star theme he has going on. I wanted that too. And I also added a weapon. I picked a claymore, and I actually have no idea why. I consider myself much more of a catalyst or polearm person, but the sword that I created for my Sona, I feel like it would translate better if it was a claymore, so I just went with that. And that's another one down. I feel like I could have added more detail given that it's Genshin Impact, but I couldn't manage to. Hopefully I can try this again some other time. I know I've been using the OSCs from each of the games I've been copying the style of until now, but sadly, Bendy and the Ink Machine's OSC is either too slow, pure ambience, or tunes that have been turned into fan songs and therefore make me scared of getting copyright claimed. But let's just move on from that. Bendy and the Ink Machine leans way more into a sorta semi-realistic style for its humanoid characters, something I'm already not too skilled in, and somehow I managed to make it worse for myself, because I didn't want to just recreate the art style of the original Bendy and the Ink Machine. I had to make it Bendy and the Dark Revival, which is way more polished and shiny. Thankfully, the style is also pretty beginner friendly for someone who never did this kind of rendering before, like me. It has some areas with pretty defined lines, which you can almost call line art, as well as the pretty limited color palette, mostly consisting of pitch black. For the whole eyes being covered ordeal, I covered them with ink, which made the more sense. And for the glowing eyes, I took inspiration from the Lost Ones, even though they are fully made of ink. We can just say that my character got a bit more lucky than them, I guess. Sadly, the overcoat and any cat traits got lost along the way. Thinking back on it, I probably would have gotten away with some vaguely cat-shaped horns, but I didn't think about that, so it is what it is. And to finish it off, we have some very badly rendered pixel art speed paint. I am terribly sorry, I don't know what happened. Probably a resizing issue. Honestly, I came into this with the idea of making specifically a Deltarune styled pixel art, but all Deltarune characters are so unique and different that I didn't have any idea of a rule or a set of rules that I could follow. I mainly just did whatever I want, using first chapter Rousey as my main inspiration. The overcoat got turned into a cape for more readability and whimsicalness, and it was done. I'm not sure if it fully reads as Deltarune, but I'm proud of the result and it was really fun to make. Hello and welcome to the end of the video! Thank you for staying until the end and I hope you liked it. If you did, please leave a like on the video and consider subscribing as well, it really helps out and you get more content from me. And until we meet again,